If you were to give me a choice between two prime lenses to take with me on any given wedding day, these are the ones I'd bring. All right, what's up, SAs? My name is Jesse James. I'm an award-winning international destination photographer and cinematographer. So let's get into this. I love both the 35mm and the 85mm prime lenses. So these aren't zoom, these are primes. Fixed, 35, 85. Specifically, this is the Sigma 35mm. I've had this for a couple years now. I actually bought this off a friend, so this has maybe at least 4 years of use in it. And then for the 85mm, it is not the G Master, it's just a regular Sony 85mm. This goes to 1.8, and the Sigma 35 goes down to 1.4. So with both prime lenses, you're able to open up that aperture, bring down that f-stop down to its lowest number, which is going to allow a whole lot more light to come inside your sensor in case you're in very low light situations, which in weddings, we always are in low light situations. But flash photography and continuous lighting is going to be a whole other video. Stay tuned for that. Now, what I love about these particular lenses, first of all, is that they're prime lenses. Prime lenses naturally just have a slightly more focused edge over zoom lenses. Now, if you're watching this, this is not a channel where I show you the scientific data details. That channel is going to be more for like f-stoppers, probably a Manny Ortiz, and definitely Gerald Undone. I'm just going to give you a brief overview with some example photos that I've taken personally at weddings using those particular lenses. And if you need to do a little bit more of a deep dive, you're more than welcome to explore those particular channels and other people's channels. Believe me, there's a whole lot more people who get into the scientific data when it comes to like chromatic aberration, this, that, and the other thing. The 35mm is wide enough so that when you walk into like the getting ready portion, whatever room it is that the people are getting ready in, no matter how small or big it is, that 35mm should be wide enough to capture at least something, a little bit of something. Definitely your subject, which is most likely going to be the bride, possibly the bride and a friend of hers helping each other get ready. So I love the 35mm for that. I also will use the 35mm when I do my flat lay photography, if I do have a lot of flat lay stuff to work with. Now, when it comes to flat lay wedding photography, meaning I am taking photos of their details, when I do the top-down shot directly over the products, directly over the details, I definitely do not shoot my Sigma 35mm at 1.4 aperture or f-stop. I bring it up to maybe f4. And that's how I like to do my top-down flat lay shots, just so that everything is in focus. Because sometimes maybe you'll have a pair of shoes that's slightly higher than the rings, than the invitations, than the necklaces, than the garter, so forth, so on. You get the idea. So you don't necessarily want to accidentally have something else in focus instead of the thing that you wanted in focus, if that makes any sense. Now, moving away from the direct top-down shots, when I get into my more artistic shots and get a little bit more angled, of course, then I'll drop that f-stop maybe back down to 2, 1.8, something like that. And then that way I can focus on a specific detail. Like, for example, in the invitation, I like to come in at like a 45-degree angle and focus on either one or both of their names, just depending on how it's laid out in the invitation itself. Does that make sense? If you've got any questions at any time during this video, please go ahead and leave a comment. I'll definitely try and get back with you. And if it's a really good question, I'll definitely make sure I try and make another video so that I could specifically answer it just for you. Going further with that 35mm, I definitely like to use that lens whenever I'm taking family photos, and then maybe wide shots of the couple during the couple portrait session. And of course, the 35mm serves a great purpose when you're trying to take establishing shots, whether it's of a church or maybe the venue, the ceremony space in which everybody's going to be in. And definitely down into the reception area, especially when everybody's dancing. I love putting the 35mm on my camera, getting in the dance area and taking the photos, just because being that close to the group, to the couple, to the party, As the viewer of the photo, it feels like you're right there with everybody else dancing. Now let's move to the 85mm. The 85mm is definitely my favorite portrait lens of all time. I definitely use the 85mm whenever I do couples engagement sessions. I'll use the 85mm when I do portraits. I definitely use the 85mm when I do portraits of the bride and of the groom. It's just a great lens that makes everybody look absolutely gorgeous. In case you're wondering, on a wedding day, I do in fact take photos both on the Sony a7 III and the a7 IV. I just love both of them. I don't necessarily shoot one more than the other. Actually, I take that back. I shoot the a7 III more than I do the a7 IV just because the a7 IV has larger megapixels, so therefore the file sizes is larger, and that means less room on my SD card. But the 35mm and 85mm are definitely my favorite go-to lenses on a wedding day. So to wrap this up, I hope from all the photos that you've seen that you are at least enticed, encouraged. I've tempted you enough to go out and purchase either a 35 or an 85 or both, and go ahead and use those as your prime as your main lenses on a wedding day. There's been plenty of wedding days where I just put those two lenses on there and I never took them off. Of course, I do bring macro lenses, and then maybe like a 70-200, and then at times maybe like a 24mm prime or a 14mm prime, or something wide to sort of show the grandeur and awesomeness of something. But that's for another video. So if you're liking everything that you've seen, if you appreciate the information that I've given you, please go ahead, hit the like button because that helps, and also subscribe. That way you're notified whenever a new video comes out. And I'll see you guys on the next video.